Queen Camilla has reportedly just lost control of one of the most powerful portfolios inside the entire royal institution, oversight of the crown's vast residential and commercial property empire. And according to palace sources, that authority hasn't simply been reshuffled. It has allegedly been handed directly to Prince William and Princess Catherine. But here's the part that makes this story so extraordinary. Insiders claim this wasn't a routine administrative change at all. It reportedly traces back to a bitter behind-closed-doors battle over one house, Bagshot Park, and a single signed document that sources say left the Queen's entire faction with nowhere left to stand. Before we unpack exactly how this reportedly unfolded, take a second to hit subscribe to Crown Watch so you never miss a story like this one. Because what allegedly happened inside those palace meeting rooms is a masterclass in how power really moves behind royal walls. To understand why the king reportedly made this decision, you have to start with the moment commentators say everything collapsed. Picture the scene as insiders describe it. A tense internal review session, weeks of pressure bearing down on the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. And then, according to these accounts, Prince Edward's legal representatives calmly placed a set of original, unredacted documents on the table, the lease extension for Bagshot Park, reportedly signed all the way back in August 2007. Sources claim that a single stack of paper did more damage to the Queen's position in 5 minutes than months of palace politics ever could. But to grasp why, we need to rewind to how this confrontation allegedly began in the first place. According to royal commentators, what started as a routine National Audit Office review into royal residential property was gradually transformed into something far more personal. Palace insiders claim that Queen Camilla's office saw the review as an opening, a chance, under the banner of fiscal consolidation, to tighten control over the wider family's households. And reports suggest her primary target was the household of Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie. The alleged plan, as sources describe it, was blunt: pressure Edward over his private revenues, question the commercial arrangements on his estate, and effectively redraw the boundaries of his home at Bagshot Park. It was, commentators argue, a strategy built on one dangerous assumption, that royal hierarchy could override a signed contract. And if these reports are accurate, that assumption was about to be dismantled, piece by piece. Here's what the paperwork reportedly showed. Edward's tenancy at Bagshot Park was never a gift, a favor, or some loose informal understanding that could be revoked on a whim. According to the accounts circulating, the Duke had paid a substantial upfront capital premium, reportedly around £5 million, paid directly to the Crown Estate in 2007 to secure a 150-year lease extension on the property. And on top of that, sources claim he had poured roughly £1.38 million of his own private money into restoring and renovating the historic Surrey estate. Every figure, insiders say, was backed by meticulous financial records. This wasn't a royal camping out in a grace and favour home. On paper, according to these reports, this was a leaseholder who had bought his security decades in advance. And that changes everything about what allegedly happened next. Because the centrepiece of the case against Edward, sources claim, was the roughly £130,000 a year generated from subletting the converted stable blocks on the estate. Income the Queen's faction reportedly framed as an exploitation of Crown property. But Edward's legal team, according to these accounts, tore that framing apart with almost surgical calm. Their argument was simple and devastating. The Duke had already compensated the Crown estate in full when he paid the market-tested premium back in 2007. Under British contract law, the commentators explain, the rental income from those stable blocks wasn't a loophole or a scandal. It was a legitimate, contractually protected return on a private capital investment. And reportedly, the 2007 agreement contained explicit commercial clauses authorizing exactly that arrangement, designed to make the estate self-sustaining without leaning on the sovereign grant. In other words, sources suggest the very thing Camilla's office was allegedly attacking had been formally approved by the Crown itself nearly 2 decades earlier. And it gets worse for the Queen's position. According to insiders, Edward's lawyers made one final point that reportedly drained the colour from the room. Any attempt to seize those private funds or alter the estate's boundaries without mutual consent, they argued, would constitute a legally actionable breach of contract, and if the dispute ever reached a formal judicial review, the palace's internal workings would be dragged into open court, a nightmare scenario for an institution desperately trying to project fiscal transparency and modern efficiency. Commentators believe this was the moment the entire campaign fell apart. The Queen's faction, sources claim, had never consulted the original, unredacted lease. They had allegedly built weeks of pressure on a foundation they never bothered to check. And now, according to these reports, they were staring at the very real possibility of a self-inflicted public catastrophe. But the legal defense, as strong as it reportedly was, is not what ultimately ended this battle. That came from somewhere else entirely. Because at this point, according to multiple accounts, Prince William and Princess Catherine stepped in, and their intervention is what royal watchers now describe as the true turning point of the entire affair. Sources claim William viewed the campaign against the Edinburghs not as a family squabble, but as a genuine institutional threat, an erosion of the legal foundations that keep the modern monarchy standing, and he reportedly approached it with cold analytical precision rather than emotion. In a series of private briefings, insiders say the Prince of Wales walked palace administrators through the audit findings line by line, set them against the constitutional obligations of the Crown estate, and exposed the fundamental flaws in the logic being pushed by the Queen's inner circle. He allegedly laid out the legal precedents, the contract terms, the capital premium, the full documented reality, proving his uncle had operated entirely within his authorized rights. And then, reportedly, he went one step further. William is said to have presented a formal memorandum warning that the proposed actions against Bagshot Park would put the Crown itself in breach of a contract it had signed nearly 20 years earlier, and pointedly questioning how an internal investigation could have missed the single most important financial fact of the entire case. Catherine's reported role was different, but commentators argue it was just as decisive. While William allegedly fought the legal battle, the Princess of Wales is said to have reframed the human one. Her argument, according to sources, was that the monarchy was already stretched to breaking point, senior royals exhausted, the working roster thinner than it had been in generations, and that Edward and Sophie were not liabilities to be squeezed, but the quiet backbone of the entire operation. Insiders claim she came armed with the numbers to prove it, meticulously tracking engagement schedules that showed the Edinburghs consistently delivering on the ground, while other branches of the family struggled with capacity. Attacking the household doing the most work, she reportedly argued, wasn't consolidation, it was institutional self-harm. And with William and Catherine standing shoulder to shoulder with Edward, sources say the pressure campaign simply had nowhere left to go. Which brings us to the king and the decision that reportedly changed the balance of power inside the palace for good. According to royal insiders, King Charles watched all of this unfold with growing alarm. The legal position presented on Edward's behalf was, by these accounts, unanswerable. The strategic case made by William and Catherine was equally so, and the king reportedly recognized something uncomfortable. The campaign run out of the Queen's office had not only been built on a legal misreading, it had brought the monarchy within reach of headline-grabbing litigation at the worst possible moment. Sources claim Charles ordered an immediate and permanent end to the pressure on the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, but he allegedly didn't stop at restoring the peace. He reportedly decided the entire governance structure had to change so that a failure like this could never happen again, and that is where this story becomes historic. In a move insiders describe as a fundamental reorganization of internal royal power, the king reportedly transferred authority over all residential and commercial property matters concerning the working family, including Crown estate arrangements, to the exclusive oversight of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Think about what that allegedly means. The Queen, sources claim, has been formally sidelined from one of the most consequential administrative domains in the institution. Commentators call it a tacit admission that the purge attempted in her name was a grave error, one that risked alienating the family's most reliable working members and exposing the Crown to devastating legal consequences. The advisors who reportedly encouraged the campaign are said to have seen their influence collapse almost overnight, as the king signaled that his trust now rests with the clinical, evidence-driven counsel of his heir. And for Camilla, palace watchers suggest the message could not be clearer. The era of governing the monarchy through aggressive administrative maneuvering is over. The reported ripple effects have spread far beyond the family itself. According to these accounts, Treasury officials and Crown Estate administrators are now operating under a new reality, one where every future negotiation over royal property will face the scrutiny of a Prince and Princess of Wales who have proven they will not tolerate interference with binding legal agreements. The defense of Bagshot Park, commentators argue, has effectively become a precedent, a shield protecting every working royal's household from arbitrary intervention. For Edward and Sophie, the outcome is reportedly total vindication. Their private investments and commercial revenues are said to be formally protected, their independence affirmed at the highest level, and their standing within the family stronger than it has ever been. Sources describe an almost physical sense of relief sweeping through the royal households as the shadow of the audit finally lifted, replaced, insiders claim, by a renewed sense of purpose and a powerful new alliance between the Wales and Edinburgh households. And for William and Catherine, royal commentators believe this episode has done something no ribbon cutting or royal tour ever could. It reportedly proved, inside the institution itself, that they are ready, not just as future figureheads, but as operators capable of mediating the most dangerous kind of crisis, the kind that comes from within. They are said to have defended the rule of law against a personal agenda, protected the family's hardest workers, and saved the king from a disaster unfolding under his own roof. If these reports are accurate, the future of the House of Windsor didn't arrive with a coronation. It arrived quietly in a meeting room when a signed contract from 2007 met a generation that actually understood what it meant. The monarchy, sources suggest, has been fundamentally recalibrated, and the balance of power now rests firmly with those who respect the law, the numbers, and the value of a promise kept on paper. As always, remember that stories like this come from reports, sources, and royal commentary, but if even half of it is accurate, Camilla's grip on palace power may never be the same again.